All right, let's go sketch it. I'll show you what I would do. Since I've got the hand stretched out, I would get the wrist stretched out like that, and then I'd come back up here to the top with the regular shape. So I'd stretch out the arm as it got down. Another thing I would do in this, if I were deforming it, is I would go and pose this out a little bit more extreme. So I would pull this elbow, like say right here, and I would have bend in it, like that. And I would slightly bend the top arm the other way. The other thing, if I were going to push this pose even more than that, is I would just completely break this arm. Now this is like hyper cartoony, which is fine, but I would do a shape like that. It would be really thick at the bottom because that's my smear element, right? But that's another thing. I would just grow the bottom part of the wrist because it's basically dragging, creating like a fake motion blur that I've created there. And I would bend the arm so the elbow would be like right here, and I'd have this fluid feel in it, which we would never see it. It would be just one frame, and there'd be hints of that shape in the two frames, one before it and one after. There'd be hints of that frame in it, but you wouldn't see this ever. You would just feel the arm go through this kind of a thing. So if I wanted to do that, since I've got him in IK and his IK is constrained, this is what I would do. This is how I would solve this problem if I were trying to get this shape. I would take this character's arm, which is right here. We're snapping FK to IK, and then we're going to do that. I think it's not following it because of the constraint, so we'll just manually put it in the spot that it's supposed to go. We're going to break that pose anyway, so it doesn't make any difference. But we know that it's supposed to be something like that, right? So I would take that frame, take the IK off, so I don't have the constraint. I don't have to worry about the IK arm breaking. And then what I would do is I'd come into my FK and I would break that elbow back that direction, and I would pull this arm back like this. So now we've got an unnatural break in the arm. But, that's the way things work, right? That's cartoony for you. Now, what we'll find is we probably don't have enough arm. That's not a big deal. All right, nice. So, there we go. It's all in the IK. Alright, so we've got the arm stretched out. So now we've got our drag in there. And it's not natural, it's not realistic, but that's how we do stuff. And then we would stretch out the hand again in here. So let's just take the fingers and we'll do, let's see if that works. Let's do one more maybe? No, that's too much. My fingers and stuff are kind of overshooting, which is why you're seeing all that weirdness. So there you go. And then like this type of move is pretty believable, right? Like how he comes up and is holding it like this. But what I would probably do in a cartoony fast move is I would pull his hand up more like that so that he whips it up and now it's up in a higher position. I'd probably point his thumb down a little bit more like that so that it doesn't ride the outside of the bowling ball. I'm just trying to create nice fluid arcs. So I'm coming back into this pose. You can see his arms breaking and stuff, but that's because he's not fully animated. But he's coming back, and then as he goes forward, you can see that the ball is kind of going through a line here, and it's dragging behind. So it wouldn't look right if this smear frame, if the ball were like way over here, but if the ball jumps way over there, and it doesn't really work as well because it's not dragging. There's no reason to smear the ball because it's not really dragging behind, right? So it's all about, creating that drag. He's moving, but the ball's dragging behind, which is causing the ball to kind of stretch out. and the shape of the arm. It's unnatural and it's not pretty to look at when you're looking at it like this, but the reality of it is that's the direction that the arm wants to go. And so you're kind of anticipating where you're going, right? So the arm kind of pulls where it wants to go and everything else is kind of dragging behind. So it's just kind of a nice way to anticipate where you're heading with everything. And whenever I would finish this, I would do the same thing to the other arm over here. I would set that, you know, there we go. That one worked a lot better because it's not constrained to anything. Pull the arm forward and then pull the elbow back. And then stretch out the arm. I don't like the angle on that arm, so I'm just going to take the elbow and rotate it a little bit. I don't like open it wide. I think that'll read better. So both hands now are working in that shape. And you know, this pose here, there's nothing about it that is normal. And if you look at it, you know, there's only one keyframe on the FK stuff that achieves it. Everything else is IK. So, you know, all I'm doing is just creating a shape, right? That pose is just merely a shape that I created with the rig the best way I could. So it doesn't always have to be, how do I get from this pose to this pose and get fluid curves in my graph editor? I mean, it's not always the case. It's not always about fluid curves, but it's about fluid arcs and getting the shapes to work on the screen.